The recording engineer found the tape in 2019, buried in a box of studio masters from RCA's Memphis facility. The label said, Elvis Presley, personal recording, August 13, 1977, do not archive, 3 days before Elvis died. A recording nobody knew existed. When David Martinez pressed play in his restoration studio, expecting to hear a song or a rehearsal, what came through the speakers wasn't music. It was Elvis's voice, raw and unfiltered, speaking directly into the microphone at what must have been 2 or 3 in the morning. And what Elvis said in those 43 minutes would shatter every assumption about his final days, his death, and the secret he'd been carrying for his entire career. Act 1. The Discovery. Nashville, Tennessee, June 2019. David Martinez had been a sound engineer for 32 years. He'd worked on restoration projects for everyone from Johnny Cash to Dolly Parton. But when RCA contacted him about digitizing their Memphis vault, thousands of master tapes from the 1950s through 1980s, he knew it was the project of a lifetime. Most of the tapes were cataloged, labeled, organized, but there were always boxes of uncatalogued materials, demo recordings, studio chatter, outtakes that never made albums. This was the stuff David loved, the raw, unpolished moments that revealed who artists really were. He was 3 months into the project when he found Box 847. Unlike the others, this box wasn't in the regular archive. It had been stored separately in a climate-controlled room that required special access. The label was marked Presley, Private, Restricted. Inside were 12 reels of tape. 11 were clearly labeled with song titles and recording dates from the 1960s and 70s. But the 12th was different, hand-labeled in what looked like Elvis's own writing. Personal recording, 8/13/1977, do not archive, EP. August 13, 1977. 3 days before Elvis died. David knew he should call RCA's legal department, get permission, follow protocol, but something about that label, do not archive, made him hesitate. If Elvis hadn't wanted it archived, maybe there was a reason. Maybe this was something private, something not meant to be heard. But David's curiosity won. He carefully threaded the tape onto his restoration deck, put on his headphones, and pressed play. Static, tape hiss, then a sound like someone adjusting a microphone, then Elvis's voice, close to the mic, intimate and exhausted. Okay, I don't even know what this is. A confession? A suicide note? An explanation? All of the above, I guess. David's hands froze on the console. This wasn't a song. This wasn't a rehearsal. This was something else entirely. Elvis's voice continued. It's 2:47 a.m. on August 13th, 1977. I'm in the jungle room at Graceland. Everybody's asleep. I set up the recorder myself. Didn't want anyone to know I was doing this, because what I'm about to say, nobody can know while I'm alive. But maybe, someday, when I'm gone, someone should know the truth. There was a long pause, the sound of Elvis taking a breath. Then, my name is Elvis Aaron Presley, and I've been lying to everyone for my entire career. What Elvis confessed in the next 10 minutes would explain every strange decision, every canceled tour, every moment when he seemed like he was running from something. Because Elvis Presley had been keeping a secret since 1955, and that secret had shaped everything. David sat frozen, listening to Elvis's voice coming through the speakers, raw, unguarded, speaking with the kind of honesty that only comes at 3 a.m. when you think nobody's listening. I need to start at the beginning. 1955. I was 20 years old, playing small venues, trying to make it, desperate to escape the poverty I grew up in. That's when I met Colonel Tom Parker, or the man who called himself Tom Parker. He saw something in me, said he could make me a star, and I believed him.
because I wanted it so badly, wanted to give my mama a better life, wanted to prove I was somebody. But Colonel had a problem, a big one. He wasn't American. He was Dutch, entered the country illegally in 1929, no passport, no citizenship, no legal right to be here. And I knew, from the very beginning I knew. Colonel told me the second week we worked together, said he needed me to understand why we could never tour internationally, why we had to stay in America, why certain questions could never be asked. And I agreed. I was 20 years old and terrified of losing my shot, so I kept his secret, became complicit in his lie, and for 22 years I've been carrying that guilt. Every time someone asked why I never toured Europe or Asia, every time fans begged me to come to their countries, every time promoters offered millions for international shows, I had to lie, had to make excuses, had to pretend it was my choice. But it wasn't my choice. It was his secret, and I was trapped in it. Elvis paused. David could hear him moving, probably pacing around the room. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is what I let him do to me because I was complicit, because I felt guilty for keeping his secret. Colonel took control of everything, my money, my career, my life. And every time I tried to push back, he'd remind me, "You know my secret, Elvis. You've known it for years. If I go down, you go down with me. Accessory after the fact, conspiracy, you'll be destroyed." So I let him steal from me, let him take 50% of everything I earned, more actually. Let him make terrible decisions about my career. Let him book me into endless Vegas residencies when I wanted to tour. Let him turn down every interesting film role for forgettable musicals. I let him control me because I was trapped by my own complicity, by my own guilt. David's mind was racing. This changed everything. The conventional wisdom about Elvis and Colonel was that Elvis had been naive, trusting, too grateful to see he was being exploited. But this was different. This said Elvis had known, had been complicit, had carried guilt for decades.
But what Elvis revealed next would expose an even darker truth. Because the secret he'd been keeping wasn't just about Colonel's identity. It was about what Colonel had threatened to do if Elvis ever broke his silence. David rewound the tape and listened again, making sure he'd heard correctly. Elvis had known about Colonel's illegal status for 22 years, had kept the secret, had been trapped by his own complicity. But there had to be more. Why record this confession now? Why August 13th, 3 days before his death? He pressed play again. Elvis's voice returned. "I need to explain why I'm recording this now. Why tonight, 3 days before I'm supposed to go back on tour. Because Colonel made a threat. Last week, August 6th, we were arguing about the tour schedule. I told him I couldn't do it, that my heart couldn't take it, that the doctors were warning me I could die if I kept pushing. And Colonel said something that made everything clear. He said, 'Elvis, you're going on this tour, and you're going to perform every show. Because if you don't, I'm going to tell the world about our arrangement, about how you've known my secret for 22 years, about how you've been complicit in immigration fraud, about how you've helped me evade law enforcement. You'll be arrested. Your daughter will see you in handcuffs. Your legacy will be destroyed. So yes, you're going on tour, and yes, you're going to do exactly what I tell you forever.' That's when I understood. I'm not just trapped, I'm a prisoner. And the only way out is death, mine or his. So I've made a decision. If I die on this tour, and there's a good chance I will, given my health, I want this recording to exist. I want someone to know that I wasn't just a victim, I was complicit. But I was also threatened, blackmailed, kept silent through fear and guilt. And I want Colonel Parker held accountable, not just for exploiting me, but for threatening me, for turning my guilt into chains. Elvis stopped. There was the sound of him drinking something. Then, I've thought about going to the authorities, the FBI, immigration, someone who could investigate Colonel independently. But I'm scared of what he'll do, scared of the publicity, scared that he's right, that I'll be arrested for conspiracy, for aiding and abetting, for 22 years of silence. So, I'm taking the coward's way out. I'm making this recording, hiding it where no one will find it while I'm alive. And if I die, when I die, maybe someone will discover it. Maybe the truth will come out. Maybe Colonel will finally face justice. Or maybe this tape will be destroyed, lost, forgotten, and the official story will stand forever. Either way, I'll be free. That's all I want now. Freedom. Even if it comes through death.
But the most shocking part of the recording was still to come. Because Elvis didn't just confess his complicity. He revealed something about his final days that would prove his death wasn't the accident everyone believed it to be. David checked the tape timer. 28 minutes left. More than half the recording remained. What else could Elvis possibly reveal? The answer came in the next section. Elvis's recording, part 4. I need to talk about the pills, because that's going to be the story, isn't it? When I die, everyone will say it was the pills. Elvis couldn't handle his addiction. Elvis took too much. Elvis killed himself with prescription drugs. But that's not the whole truth. Yes, I take pills. Too many pills. I know that. But it's not because I'm weak or addicted in the traditional sense. It's because Colonel and Dr. Nick have been systematically over-medicating me for years. Every time I try to reduce my dosage, Colonel intervenes, tells Dr. Nick to increase it, says I need the pills to maintain my performance schedule, to manage anxiety, to function. But the truth is, the pills keep me compliant, keep me too foggy to think clearly, too dependent to fight back, too sick to leave. Last month, I tried to stop cold turkey, flushed all my pills, told Dr. Nick I was done. Within 48 hours, Colonel showed up with a new doctor, a guy from Las Vegas I'd never met. This doctor gave me a special cocktail for withdrawal symptoms, said it would help me transition off the medications safely. But it didn't help. It made everything worse. I was more sick, more confused, more dependent than before. And that's when I realized, Colonel isn't just enabling my addiction, he's orchestrating it, keeping me on a controlled deterioration path, making sure I'm sick enough to be compliant, but functional enough to perform, until I can't perform anymore, until my body gives out, until I die on his terms, not mine. Elvis's voice cracked. For the first time in the recording, he sounded like he might cry. I don't want to die, but I don't know how to live. That's the truth. The pills are killing me, but stopping the pills means confronting Colonel, and confronting Colonel means exposing the secret I've kept for 22 years, which means destroying myself in a different way. So I'm trapped, dying slowly, waiting for the end, recording this confession in the middle of the night because it's the only power I have left, the power to tell the truth, even if nobody hears it until I'm gone. David had to pause the recording. His hands were shaking. This wasn't just a confession, this was evidence. Evidence that Elvis had been deliberately over-medicated. Evidence that Colonel Parker had been controlling his deterioration. Evidence that Elvis's death might not have been accidental at all.
The next section of Elvis's recording would reveal the specific details of what Colonel had planned, including the exact date Elvis believed he was going to die and why that date was so important to Colonel's financial interests. I need to tell you about the insurance policies, because that's the key to understanding what's really happening. Colonel has taken out 12 life insurance policies on me. Total value, $48 million. I found the document 6 months ago when I went through his office files. All the policies were taken out between 1970 and 1975. All list Colonel as the primary beneficiary. $48 million. If I die, that's what he gets immediately. Plus, he controls my catalog, my image rights, my royalties, everything, forever. But here's what I figured out. The policies have a clause. If I die before age 43, Colonel gets the full amount. If I die after 43, the payout drops by 60% because of age-related risk factors. I turn 43 on January 8, 1978, 5 months from now, which means Colonel has a deadline, a financial incentive to make sure I don't make it to 43. And that tour he's forcing me to do, starting in 3 days, it's scheduled to run through December, through the holidays, right up to my birthday. Intense schedule, 40 shows in 3 months, with my current health issues, with my heart problems, with the medication cocktail that's destroying me. Do the math. It's not an accident, it's a plan. David felt sick. Elvis was describing a murder plot, a slow, calculated, financially motivated murder. I need to tell you about the insurance policies because that's the key to understanding what's really happening. Colonel has taken out 12 life insurance policies on me. Total value, $48 million. I found the document 6 months ago when I went through his office files. All the policies were taken out between 1970 and 1975. All list Colonel as the primary beneficiary. $48 million. If I die, that's what he gets immediately. Plus, he controls my catalog, my image rights, my royalties, everything, forever. But here's what I figured out. The policies have a clause. If I die before age 43, Colonel gets the full amount. If I die after 43, the payout drops by 60% because of age-related risk factors. I turned 43 on January 8, 1978, 5 months from now, which means Colonel has a deadline, a financial incentive to make sure I don't make it to 43. And that tour he's forcing me to do, starting in 3 days, it's scheduled to run through December, through the holidays, right up to my birthday. Intense schedule, 40 shows in 3 months, with my current health issues, with my heart problems, with the medication cocktail that's destroying me. Do the math. It's not an accident, it's a plan. David felt sick. Elvis was describing a murder plot, a slow, calculated, financially motivated murder. I tried to talk to Dr. Nick about it, ask him directly, "Are you helping Colonel kill me?" And you know what he said? He didn't deny it. He just said, "Elvis, I'm doing my best to keep you alive and functional. That's all I can do. The rest is between you and Colonel," which is basically an admission. He knows. He's complicit, and he's too scared or too paid or too compromised to stop it. So here I am, 3 days from a tour I don't think I'll survive, recording a confession nobody will hear until I'm dead, leaving evidence that will hopefully lead to justice after I'm gone. Elvis paused. When he spoke again, his voice was different, calmer, resigned. You know what's funny? I always thought I'd die on stage, dramatically, in front of thousands of people, going out singing, like the ending of a movie. But I don't think that's how it's going to happen. I think it's going to be quiet, alone, in a bathroom or a bedroom, found by someone who works for me, ruled an accidental overdose, everyone shaking their heads sadly. If only Elvis had gotten help, if only someone had intervened. But people did intervene.
I tried to get help. I tried to stop, and I was forced back into this system by threats and blackmail and financial control. So when you find my body, and you will, probably soon, remember this recording. Remember that I didn't die by accident. I died because someone wanted me dead. Someone who profited from my death. Someone I've been protecting for 22 years by keeping his secret.